And so from 12 to 15 was kind of like my phase, if you will, like my party phase, my bad boy phase. From 12 to 15, that was the case. And then I went to a summer camp when I was 15 years old and really actually had an encounter with God, like the first encounter that I've had. And I knew that if I put myself back in the same environment that I already was in, that if I went back to school, that it would cause me to fall back into the same stuff. I was like, I know how important this change is in my life, but I also know that it's not going to stick unless I change my environment. And so when I was 15, I dropped out of high school.
Every time I turn on my phone or the TV, it feels like the world's falling apart. The news is full of chaos, and if that's all you ever see, it's easy to believe everything's just getting worse. But that's not what I'm seeing behind the scenes. In real life, in our communities, I'm watching God move like I've never seen before. I've seen lives restored, churches growing, revival happening at business events, people stepping out in faith, and God giving dreams and visions, calling people to rise up and make a difference. And that's why I started Transforming Communities, because I want to show you what God is actually doing right now. I want to introduce you to my friends, people who are stepping up, taking risks, and transforming their cities for the kingdom. So if you're tired of bad news and you've been wondering if God still moves, He does, and these stories prove it. To support what we're doing and to hear more stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be notified every time a new podcast drops, just click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump into the Transforming Communities podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Helping Captives. You know, it's crazy how many people don't realize that human trafficking isn't just somewhere else. It happens right here in our own communities. Helping Captives is a faith-based anti-trafficking organization that exists to provide freedom, hope, and opportunity to survivors of sex trafficking across the United States. They do this through their different services such as emergency and stabilization, 24/7 around-the-clock care, professional counseling, and much more. If you're a survivor of sex trafficking and need help, or you're wanting to support a survivor's journey, take the first step at helpingcaptives.org. That's helpingcaptives.org. Today on Transforming Communities, I had the opportunity to sit down with my friend Nate Yoder. Nate is only 25 years old, but he's already built and sold multiple companies. And today he leads an architecture firm and an AI systems company. He's helping business owners turn big ideas into reality, and I really love that about him. But what impacted me most wasn't his success. Nate actually dropped out of high school at 15 years old. He grew up in a home where men coming out of prison were constantly being discipled and given a second chance. And then at the height of building a successful business, God asked him to walk away, and he obeyed. That's what this conversation is really about. It's about surrender, and it's about obedience. And it's about building something that lasts without sacrificing your marriage, your family, or your relationship with God along the way. If you've ever felt God calling you into something bigger, you struggled to let go of something comfortable, or wondered how to pursue success without losing what matters most, I really think that this conversation is going to encourage you. So with that being said, here's my conversation with my good friend, Nate Yoder. All right, guys, today on the Transforming Community podcast, I have a good friend of mine. It's not all the time that you meet somebody much younger than you that you are encouraged by, challenged by, but Nate is one of those guys. When you get around him, you're just blown away, very, very excited about his future. But I wanted to bring him in because he is transforming communities in an interesting way. And he's really, really helping a lot of people in business now that have vision, but don't necessarily know how to implement it. And for somebody that's probably like a 12 out of 10 visionary, you need people in your life that can take your vision and help implement it. And he's just figuring out great ways to be able to do that. But he's also a really strong Christian. He's very, very vocal about his faith. And it's not every day you meet somebody that likes to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, hit an ice bath, go train for an Ironman just because, and then also go out and make a lot of money and advance the kingdom of God. So I thought it'd be fun to have you in. And
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, dude.
Yeah, thanks for the intro.
So for those that have never met Nate Yoder, who is Nate Yoder?
Man, good question. So you want my story, like
Yeah.
from ground zero?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Why take us back, maybe like what's life growing up, and what were you like before entrepreneurship?
Man, I'm the youngest of 5. My closest sibling to me after that is 5 years older, and then the closest to her is 5 years older. So I had siblings, but by the time I was like 13, I was pretty much an only child.
Okay.
And so growing up, though, I grew up with brothers. And so they would do things like, put me in jails that they would build out of 2x4s and like tell me stories that weren't true and stuff and make me question my reality. And so, but they're awesome. All my siblings are very cool. My parents are absolutely incredible. They have a ministry for guys coming out of prison. Yeah. And so I grew up basically in a household that was focused on service and being able to outwardly serve others. And that was really the centerpiece. And so I think that was really, really important because not only was it like a message that they had of here's why we believe in God, it was also here's how we show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your parents have always been great examples, I think, of loving people and where they're at.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was interesting for me, meeting you, because I met when you were very young, because I was working with your dad on some ministry stuff. They didn't just keep these guys that were coming out of jail like away from your family.
Right.
You want to talk about that? Like
Yeah.
you actually grew up around a lot of these guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Grew up around cons, sex offenders, drug addicts. I actually remember in my childhood, like a couple times, my parents had the other friends' parents call them and be like, "What are you thinking? Bringing my son to a to a household of faith dinner?" And so that was interesting because it was just my world. I thought it was normal. I thought everybody hung out with these people. So it was cool. I mean, it was definitely like a good foundation to be able to see like paths that you could go down and be able to see the other that you could, actually live rightly on.
You would think that seeing the other paths that you could go down and these past other ones that you'd go down, that you just have like a squeaky clean past and you'd go, well, then I'm 100% going this direction. Is that your story?
No.
So walk me through that. What is that like?
Yeah. So I think when I was probably like 12-ish, I started hanging out with the wrong people. I started getting into things that I probably shouldn't. And it started leading me in a direction that I just didn't like. I didn't like about myself. I didn't like about, I basically professed that I was a Christian from the time I was like 5. I was like, Jesus, come into my heart, be with me, But it was never like an actual heart choice. And I think with the way that I grew up, I got very good at being able to see how much my parents trusted and being able to take advantage of that. And so I started going down a path probably from like 12 to 15 of just becoming the person that I didn't want to become. But it was just social pressure. It was things that had snuck in there as, different lies that the enemy told me. And so from 12 to 15 was kind of like my phase, if you will, like my party phase, my bad boy phase, I guess.
From 12 to 15?
I did everything really, really young. Yeah. And so from 12 to 15, that was the case. And then I went to a summer camp when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And really actually had an encounter with God, like the first encounter that I've had. And I knew that if I put myself back in the same environment that I already was in, that if I went back to school, that it would cause me to fall back into the same stuff. I was like, I know how important this change is in my life, but I also know that it's not going to stick unless I change my environment. And so that was like ultimately the decision that I made. And so when I was 15, I dropped out of high school.
Okay, wait, what?
Yeah.
All right, so you dropped out of high school. If your kids wanted to drop out of high school and they came to you, what would you tell them?
First, I would want to know the motivation behind why. Because if it was a situation like mine, I would be all for it. I'd be like, yes, you need to separate yourself from that. You need to put yourself on a different path, a different trajectory. And so I would be all for it in a sense. If they were wanting to just drop out of high school because they didn't want to do the work, then that's a different case. But for me, I think school was never necessarily about the education as much as it was about like the social side. And so for me, like my education came through really like real life learning, like building things with my dad and being able to work alongside them and my parents. And so what I would tell them is just make sure that you have the right motivation and trust your gut. And if you do, then I trust you.
Okay, I want to pause there. So you're telling me now, when you say you dropped out of high school, did you continue doing high school? You just didn't do it at the current school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still got my diploma like sophomore year or whatever. So
how do you get your diploma your sophomore year?
It was completely because I could do it at my own pace. And so like I did have like focus issues in school for sure. I don't like the whole ADHD thing or whatever, but it probably was me. Like I had massive problems with focus, and that was because I was more of like social butterfly. Yeah. And so I just wasn't focused on actually doing the work or learning or applying myself at all. And so when I got out, I just hated school so much. I was like, I might as well get this over. I know that I need to get the diploma and, check the box. So
did you go like back to homeschool and just knock it all out?
It was just an online course.
So you just did online courses.
Yeah. But it was
that's so crazy. We have such a similar story.
Really?
Yeah. So awesome. I mean, I started doing my partying thing probably at 15 years old till 18. So I didn't get mine out as early as you did.
Yeah.
My parents just trusted me.
Yep.
Grew up around people coming out of prison, out of jail, in the ministry that my dad was doing. So you could see which way I didn't want to end up.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just also wanted some street cred, probably because I was hanging out with them a lot. Mm-hmm. I have no idea, and got myself into that, and then also knew exactly what to tell my parents because my parents were so trusting.
Right.
Very interesting. And then dropped out of high school and ended up doing online school.
Yeah.
Did 2.5 years of high school in one summer and went back and got my diploma.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think so on that. Did you find it that because your parents trusted you so much that it was a good thing in a sense because it built so much agency in the fact that your decisions that you made were directly yours?
Yeah, weird thought there. My dad and I have talked about that a bit. There was something about being so young and having to own my own decisions and the fact that my parents would let me make some of my own decisions. However, if they would have known what I was really doing, I think there would have been more balance.
Yeah.
100%. But it made me extremely independent, and it made me have to own my own decisions, and I got to try a lot of things, and had a lot of jobs, and would figure out very quickly whether I wanted to do this or do that, or figure out the hustle of the job, and then I would get bored, and then I'd go start my own thing and realize very young I should be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, I think I met with my dad once. He's like, dude, you've had 20 jobs in like 4 years. I had 4 jobs in 2 years. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's like, what's going on here? He's very worried about me for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully our kids are like us, and hopefully they also don't have some of the same tendencies. Because I've jumped around from thing to thing for sure as well. But.
So you jump from business to business and stuff. Where did you finally land on something that you were passionate about and started seeing growth and opportunity happen in your life?
Yeah. So I started when I was like 9 years old. My dad and I started he had a custom cedar shed business. So I'd use his scraps to build dog houses. And I did that for years until it kind of transitioned into like building more furniture stuff. And then I had an opportunity out of some of the money that I made there to be able to invest it into a furniture store with a buddy of mine. So when I was 15, that was the same time that I dropped out of high school. I just went all in on basically putting myself in a new environment. Part of that environment was business. And so I invested myself fully, and basically for the next 2 years, spent time building that business with my partner and really understanding like sales and marketing and just everything that there was to business.
I forget you were 15 when you were doing that.
Yeah,
Nate.
It's crazy. Exited the first company when I was 17.
That's
wild.
Crazy.
And so from that
point... Because I remember
point,
him coming to me and be like, dude, this kid's different. And I'm like, he's 15. What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, he was right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just saw him at Austin's wedding.
Yeah.
It was wild. So getting out of that was like, I learned a lot of different lessons in that business for sure. That was like honestly, that was kind of my school when I should have been going to school. And so I did that. And then I got into real estate when I was 18. And then that's where I kind of started to build and started to really like stick with something. And so I stuck with real estate a couple years. Then in the same profession, I just switched kind of my focus and I started building a real estate brokerage, which I grew to 30 agents in a year. And then when my wife and I had our first daughter, that's when I transitioned out of that. So it's kind of been a few things here and there.
So you built a really successful real estate business. Why would you walk away from something that's making you money like that?
That was because my wife and I had our first daughter, Lovelyn. And when we had her, it was honestly like 2 weeks before that she was born. My like realization of, oh crap, this is real, really hit me. And so it started to change the way that I thought about things. And I heard an Ed Milet quote that really stuck with me. And it's, the most insidious form of child neglect is a parent not achieving their full potential. And deep down, I knew that I wasn't achieving my full potential because it was like I was building this thing and it was the most successful company that I owned at that point. And it was very financially successful, but like my actual spirit was being crushed because it wasn't what I wanted to do. Like I got into real estate as a vehicle to create capital to go invest into other businesses, which we'll talk about in a little bit, like my purpose for life. Yeah. But real estate ultimately led me into like, just there's so much community in real estate and it's not necessarily healthy. And so it led me into so much like, again, social pressure. And I started worrying about more what other people thought and the direction that I should go. And so it was like, once I had built this like, you know, decent real estate sales vehicle, then I was looking for a business opportunity and people are like, why are you going to look for another opportunity? You already have something great. And I'm like, oh, I guess I do. Yeah, maybe I should just stick with the same thing. And, you know, so it just kind of naturally progressed into like, holy crap, now I own a 30 agent brokerage and I didn't even sign up for this. Like this was not my life plan at all. So when we had her and I heard that quote, I was like, I need to actually live true to my conviction and true to who that I know that I am. And so, yeah.
That's incredible. It sounds like a lot of your decisions in life, you wrestled with social pressure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that. I struggle with that still. Yeah. Occasionally.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
I think everybody does.
Yeah. It's interesting where you know the right decision to make, but you look through the lens of what are people going to think instead of just what is God telling me to do? Okay, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the real estate game, and you were in the real estate business for a while, what's the biggest lesson that real estate taught you that you still use today?
Business or life?
Either one.
Man, I would say honestly, it sounds so silly, but follow up, which is what it's kind of a business and life thing. Okay. Because I realized pretty early on that like everybody when you're in real estate, everybody comes and asks you questions. Everybody talks to you about, should I buy a house? Should I sell a house? It's just like the thing to do, you know, when you're talking to a realtor, how's the market? You're like, yeah, you're never going to buy with me. But so I learned like through that vehicle, like how important follow-up actually is and really reaching out to people and checking on people. And what I found is that like, obviously that equates to a much bigger bank account, because when you actually touch base with people, you don't know when you're touching base with them. So it might be in a time where they're most vulnerable and they need help in what you do. And I started taking that kind of quality and I started applying it to other areas of my life too. And so now I'm not as consistent with this, but I still try to do it at least on a weekly basis. It used to be every single morning I would think about 3 of my friends that I wanted to check on, and I would just send them a voice note, or I would send them a little message of inspiration, or like a little quote, or what I thought about them, or who God was calling them to be, or anything that I could possibly send. Mm-hmm. And the impact that made was actually pretty wild. Like when you actually get intentional with your personal relationships, things really start to happen and doors really start to open too. Not just professionally, but also like personally. People start to trust you more. You start to have more impact with the people that you influence. And so it was something that I've taken and I've really ran with in every area of my life.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What did your wife think when you went and talked to her and said that you were going to try and start a whole new company after having a successful real estate business and about to have a child?
My wife and I are like very close. And so she could see it the whole time. I think she could see the writing on the wall. And so when I told her, at least from what I remember, she was like in full support. She's like, I want you to pursue what God has called you to do and what you know is right, and I trust you. And so probably the wrong decision, because for the next like 9 months, she paid the mortgage. Like we had got this really nice house in the valley up on this ridge, and it was a huge blessing at the time. And it's funny how your blessings can turn into a curse real fast. Because we had got this thing, we didn't think that we were going to. Everything was going great. I have, the brokerage. We've got money in the bank. Things are happening well. And then when I made this decision, it wasn't just like you make a decision to go into more business development and acquisitions for companies, and it's just an overnight success. And so it was like 9 months of struggle and of her paying the mortgage. Thank God she had a salon. She's also a driven entrepreneur as well. So she was paying our mortgage. I'm like taking care of the baby throughout the day and stuff. So it was hard. It was really hard, especially as a man, to be like, my wife is paying our mortgage like day in and day out. I mean, I'm making light of it, but it was a dark time in my life. I was very, very troubled, like dealing with that. And there was a lot of tears shed, a lot of like just not understanding what God had, just so much confusion of like, why did you call me to do something else besides this? And I felt so much stirring in my spirit, but then nothing is happening. And ultimately what I found is that like at the end of that 9 months, the realization that I had is I was still trying to take control of everything. Okay. So like, God's like, give this up. And I gave it up, but then I'm trying to take control of a new opportunity. And I'm trying to be like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go make business introductions, and I'm going to coach businesses, and I'm going to find the opportunities that need me to help their companies, and I'm going to, whatever it is. And then finally that did create some small results. And the moment that I was like finally fed up, it was after me and Elisa's, one of our long conversations. And she's like, I'm getting pretty sick of this. You got to figure this out. And so I went down in my basement office and I just started praying, and I just started weeping. And I was like, I fell to my knees, and I was just like, I fully surrender everything. Because I hadn't fully surrendered like my heart at that point. I fully surrendered the business, but I never fully surrendered the part of my heart that was like, I actually trust you, Lord, for provision, and I trust that you're going to take care of me. And as soon as I did that, literally 20 minutes later, my business partner now, one of them, he calls me and he's like, Nate, I feel like I'm supposed to give you part of my company. I was like, that's insane. This really works. Like, it was crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. So what was that business that you jumped in?
It was an architecture firm. So my wife and I had built a house, and through that process, I basically was coaching the owner in exchange for our plans. And so at the end of that, then I just loved it. I was doing it for him for free, and then he was the one that ended up calling me and be like, I want you to be a bigger part of this. Wow. So.
And then what was it like when you jumped into business with him? How did that go?
It was really good. For the first...
You were probably hungry at that point.
I was very hungry.
Let's go.
Yeah. So it was a big blessing.
Yeah.
And I think, so within the first basically like 6 months, we were looking good. But within the first year, we basically took their revenue 60% growth in the first year. And that was all done through systems and automation. And so, and a lot of prayer, obviously, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a cool opportunity.
Wow. What point in your life do you think you stopped asking, like, how can I build a successful life, and how can I build a life that changes other people's lives? Because to me, it's very unique for a young person to want to be a coach.
Sure.
Like, you first get into business or in any kind of thing when you have a young family, you're thinking, I'm doing this because I want to change my life. But then all of a sudden it kind of shifted.
Yeah.
There's a shift in you that's like, I don't want to just be successful. I want to help other people be successful. Like, where did that come from?
I think it was honestly there when I was 9 and I read that John Maxwell book that changed my life. Like that, and that's kind of, so when I started the Custom Cedar Doghouse Company, it was kind of spurred off of the backbone of that. I read this book. My mom had all of these different books in her bookshelf, and the only one that I picked was this John Maxwell book, and it just seemed interesting. I was like, I don't know what this is. At 9, like looking back, I'm like, I don't know that I would pick that book today, but for some reason. And so I'm reading this and I'm understanding, like, as I'm reading it, it's not just like it connected with me. It was like it spoke to me in a different way. And ultimately the message was like, number one, intentionality with how we live. But number two, the intentionality that with building businesses comes a much greater effect, which is changing people's lives. And if we really want to change the world, it starts with business, because not everybody goes to church, but everybody goes to work. And so like after I read that book, that's ultimately what catapulted me into being like, man, I want to help people. I'd always wanted to help people. Like from, I think I was like maybe 5 or 6, my parents gave me this little T-Mobile flip phone, and it was not a working one. But with the old T-Mobile phones, you used to be able to press the green button and it would call T-Mobile and they could set you up on service. So I would just call that for fun, and I would call the people in the attendants, and I would just start preaching to them. And my mom would walk in. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I've almost got this one." she's about to accept Jesus into her heart. So, like, I always had that heart for like bringing God's kingdom to earth and being able to help people truly and intentionally. Yeah. But it wasn't until I had that mindset shift of like, I can do this through business, and I got really, really interested in business. And so, you asked what was the moment that kind of changed me living for me and me living for other people. I think honestly it was when I had a kid. Like when we had our daughter, that's when things really changed, because I started looking through the perspective of like, it's not actually about me at all, and it's about her. Yeah. And all of the people in her generation that are coming up behind us. So how am I actually serving that's going to serve them?
Yeah. You said something that really caught my ear. You said that you felt like you could advance the kingdom of God more through business than any other way. For those people that are out there listening that might be feeling called from God to go start a business, how can you use your business to advance the kingdom of God?
I think it starts in the very beginning, because the Bible says what you do with the little, you'll do with the lot. And I think that's one of the principles that I've lived by, is like, no matter if I have a team of 1, which is me, or if I have a team of 50, it's the same thing. Like the way that you show up for yourself is the way that you show up for others. So especially in leadership, I think leadership is the way that you can change people's lives through business. Leadership is the vehicle, but ultimately what you do in your business and the way that you set it up will have the impact on people. And so like for us, whether it's our house plans or Midas or any company that I'm a part of, that's the biggest focus, is like, who's on the team? How can we serve those on the team? And even though we don't have like the biggest companies in the world yet, we're still doing intentional behaviors with those individuals to better them and to bring the best out of them and out of their lives. It's not just about business, but it's about the relationship. So like I say that I love to coach, but honestly, it's not really coaching, because I'm not better than anybody by any means. It's more so just like kind of a friend that asks the right questions. Like I love being able to bring the best out of people. That's what I am really passionate about.
You said that leadership is the best way to like impact people's lives through your business. And that's because for a lot of people, you might go to church and you might be there for 2 hours a week. But in business, you might be with somebody, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. There's a lot of influence there.
Tons.
What's a cool story of maybe somebody's life that you were able to impact through business? For somebody that's sitting out there thinking, man, I'm fired for the Lord. I really want to impact the kingdom of God. But I don't necessarily feel called to be a pastor. I don't feel called to work inside the church building. I feel called to go impact culture outside, and really feeling called to make that mountain of business.
you know, why should they do it?
I don't know that I have one story necessarily. I probably do, but my wife is so much better at coming up with the stories of my past, and I just have like short-term memory loss. I'm like a goldfish. So, and in terms of stories, I'd have to think about that. But I think the like overarching aspect of it has been just being able to pull the best out of people and being able to elevate people.
Yeah.
Like I've had a lot of people who have come to me and just basically said, thank you for the opportunity to be able to do this with you, because it's changed my and my family's lives. Like that is one of the most rewarding things ever. And it's not anything that I'm doing. It's just what God has called me to, and it's what he creates through these different opportunities. So I think the other thing to understand, like with leadership, not that this is necessarily, we're going to get too deep into leadership, but the one thing that I think that a lot of leaders get wrong is it's like, I have to be the person to teach, and I have to be the person to coach, and I have to be the one who instills all of this knowledge and understanding, but they don't actually take time to do it themselves. Like I personally think that one of the biggest driving factors in healthy leadership is integrity, because the way that you live personally is the way that you'll be reflected to others. And so like for me, like you mentioned the ice baths, the working out, the stuff like that. My morning routine is like a huge part to me. And my wife will tell you there hasn't been a season in our marriage where I'm not like pushing to become the best and pushing to have a better, more optimized morning routine or whatever it is. But it's just because it's like, if I can wake up and do the hard things, and if I can put God first and actually develop my relationship with him, and if I can learn for myself, then I'll be more positioned to serve the people who I serve. So,
man, I love that. That kind of makes me go into another question that I have for you, because you just talked about putting in the time, doing the hard work that other people won't. What do you think is the biggest difference between people who dream about changing the world and someone who actually does it?
Imperfect action. Yeah, I think like the analysis or the paralysis by analysis is a real thing. Like the people who try to get everything perfect, who try to study it and understand it, those are the people that don't do anything, because they become paralyzed by how much stuff that they have to get perfect. Because the more that you look into it, the more that it becomes daunting. So I think that's been one of my greatest assets, is like I have this thing where I say buy the ticket. And it's just basically, it comes from like when I did my Ironman, I just bought the ticket to the Ironman, and I didn't have any training. I didn't have any understanding. I knew that it was crazy hard, but I just bought the ticket. And then all of the rest, all of the actions after that just kind of fell into place. Like with that story specifically, I did that in a different way. But with everything else in my life, I kind of just buy the ticket. Like with my wife, she didn't even like me yet, and I bought her wedding ring. I mean, she might have like kind of liked me, but I was like a 16-year-old kid. I think I was 15 when I bought her wedding ring. And then we started dating when I was 18. So it's like, but I just bought that ticket because I was like, you're the one that I want. We're going to do this, and I'm going to figure it out later. And so I think that's a big thing that I have, is like, maybe it's just stupidity, honestly. It's like, oh, I can do anything, you know, and I'll just commit to it before I actually have a full understanding. I think that's what separates the people who actually do change the world and the people who just think about changing the world. Because there's so many people that just think about it, especially nowadays. Like there's so much education and knowledge everywhere. And those people that just sit there and just constantly consume, they constantly go to the conferences, they constantly do all of that, but they never actually do anything. It's just a cycle of repeated behavior that is burying them farther and farther down, because every new conference that they go to, it's new understanding for another direction that they could take it. And so all of this knowledge and stuff that we have nowadays is great, but it can also be paralyzing.
Yeah. I've felt that before, because when we were first trying to build the Freedom Center, I really wanted to get the word out. So I was going to as many different events and conferences and connecting with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But you're at the conferences, so I'm going to try and learn everything. But it's hard not to get mission drift, because depending on who you're learning from, you've got to be really strategic, I think, on which coach you bring in, who's investing in your life to actually walk out the full path to see how it actually will end up, instead of starting with this person, trying to figure out their system, and then you jump over here and you're doing another one. It's kind of challenging. Why do you think that so many entrepreneurs might have incredible vision, but never actually be able to get traction?
I think it kind of comes to what I was just talking about. But I think it also goes like one step deeper, which is the people that have extreme vision and are high on the visionary scale typically have focus issues as well. Mm-hmm. So they're always the idea man, but they're never the actual implementation man. They can come up with all the great ideas in the world. They can come up with all the things that might change it. But I think the reason that they never do is just because they can't commit, because they just have a massive issue with focus and with conviction. I think, and maybe you can answer this question, when was it, I would suppose that it was HC, but when was it in your life that you finally stopped going from thing to thing to thing to thing and actually committed, and why did you?
Probably because of the conviction and the focus of everything. Just, not being totally sure, not totally invested in everything else.
Yeah.
Just doing it because it was status quo and I had to make a living and had to pay bills. But I wasn't passionate about it. I think once we got to a point where it was you guys at the Adullam house, the youth house that I started in my early 20s, that's when everything shifted. Okay. Because I was doing Bible study with all of you young adult, high school kids and young adults, and realized that you guys needed a place to go more than 2 hours a week on Wednesday night. And I didn't want you to end up the way that I ended up or where my friends ended up. And so I wanted to build something for you. And that's where everything shifted. Because then my passion and dream was, okay, I'm going to build youth houses all over the country.
Yeah.
And then hearing the stories of traffic victims, we kind of added the anti-trafficking program onto that. That's probably when I really realized what my real passion was to do ministry and to impact communities through ministry. But yeah, it mostly came down to just hyper focusing on something that I cared about more.
So when it
went from not being able to
you.
Focus to being able to hyper focus on something, because it was so much bigger than me and I was doing it for other people.
Why is that important to you?
Who's interviewing here?
I just love it. It's good.
Well, I think when you become so lost and you have banged your head against the wall so many times, and then you find peace and you find hope and you find Christ, you can't help but want other people to experience that. Mm-hmm. But then I don't want people to just, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
That becomes the next big question for me is how do you take someone from a sheep to a soldier? It's like, there needs to be something that happens with that. When my life got transformed and changed, I wanted to go impact my community. I wanted my friends to be able to have that understanding. And so then the question was, what am I going to do with this gift that I've been given to me? This is the greatest gift of all time, and now I have it and I've found it. How do I go share it with other people? How do I go reach other people with this gift? What are practical application ways that we can help other people to show them Christ? And so then my brain just went like 1,000 different practical ways. Well, we could do neighbor in need outreaches. We could go help with the widows. We could go feed people. We could go help the hungry. I could go partner with Nate Yoder's dad and try and help people coming out of prison. But at the same time, there's a quote that Ed Milet also says is, you're the most qualified to reach the person you just were. And at that time, I was a 22-year-old kid. So I was going, I'm the most qualified to reach that 16 to 18-year-old kid that's struggling and wants to be able to have a place to go and to grow in the Lord, but wants to be able to play Mario Kart and hang out after school and just be a kid. And that's where the house idea came from, was if I could just have a house that would be open from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day after school, then these guys could come and have a place to hang out and with some good guys that could mentor them, and they'd stay out of trouble. Because I knew that they wanted it, but they didn't have a place to go. And I think 90% of juvenile crime happens between 3 and 6 o'clock at a house where there's no parent. And so I just wanted to be able to provide that because I really wanted them to experience Christ and then also become a part of a brotherhood and a family that would support them so that they could actually go out and change the world, you know? And now I've just taken that passion and shifted it more toward women that are coming out of trafficking that need a place to go, that need family, that need sustainability, that need people that really care about them to walk alongside of them. And so being able to partner with Anya and have her run that ministry and for me to help provide that gives me extreme value and purpose. And I think now I'm in a shift of wanting to continue to do that, but also wanting to help young people figure out what mountain and what valley they're called to. You know, you figured out at a young age, you were called the mountain of business. Like I feel called to business, but so many people get caught up in their mountain, you know, their area of influence that they're going to go take, but they forget about the valley of need, the people that need help. And my heart is to try and help those people bring those two together. Yeah. So how do we take Nate's mountain and figure out what breaks Nate's heart? And how do we use your business to create revenue and wealth and stuff and impact all the people at your work and mentor them and help them have healthy families. But then a percentage of your money goes back and helps somebody an area of need in the community. I think that's where people really see Jesus. In the community is when the church is outside of their walls impacting the needs of the culture and impacting the needs of the community. I think that's when people that aren't saved really see Christianity at its best. Yeah. And so I think that's why I'm so passionate about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's a superpower when you start to have vision for others instead of just yourself. Like when others come into part of your vision, and that's what you really want to achieve is helping other people. It's really a superpower, which is crazy because like previously I used to like hate stuff like community service and things like that. Like I was so like, I don't have time for this. Even when I was like 12 and I would come out and help HRC with like yard work for somebody, I'd be like, this is such BS. I don't want to be doing this. But my heart is completely shifted. I still don't love community service, but I do. I do in a way.
You like community service, you just might not like yard work.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, I love serving in different ways. And I think that's ultimately what is like propelled me more than anything in these last few years is focusing more on how can I help other people win than how can I help myself win.
Yeah. You're now working with a lot of businesses. I mean, God's blessed you. I just was at an event the other day. You put on you filled an entire room of people that are entrepreneurs that are looking for more systems and things like that. And all of that really came out of this need, I'm assuming. So where did you see the need to help other people with systems?
I think it's what you were talking about earlier, the visionary thing. Like, why do people with such big vision have a hard time actually bringing it to fruition? That was me for a long time. Like, I had all of these massive, man, if you could just get into my brain's whiteboard and be like, look at all the stuff that he's thought about. It's insane. It's endless. And so I had like all of these different ideas and plans and vision and all the things that I wanted to achieve and all these different like major milestones. And the only few that have actually come to fruition are the ones that I've actually been intentional with. And so that's why the conference that I lead is called Business on Purpose, is because I think a lot of people live on default, not on purpose. And when you switch that and when you decide, no, I'm going to actually live intentionally so that every single decision that I make is going to set myself and others up for success that I know is possible and that God's called me to, that's when everything changes. Like, most people don't realize like everything is a choice when it comes to being on purpose and living intentionally. Like every single thing that you eat, every single thing that you drink, like every choosing to work out, choosing to wake up, choosing to take care of yourself, choosing to take care of your family, your finances, your everything, it all has an impact on what you do because of that integrity thing. And so I think when we can actually instill agency within people and they can truly believe every decision that I make directly impacts my future outcome is when we'll change the world. And so to answer that kind of broadly, it was like the thing that made me get so passionate about systems was that I just didn't have any for myself. And I was guilty of being the kind of aimlessly wandering visionary for years and years and years. And the only success that I ever saw was built out of, okay, do we have a system for lead generation? Do we have a system for follow-up? Do we have a system for leadership and culture? Do we have a system for accountability for me as a leader? Do we, like, all of the things that we need, like, people just don't make systems for their life, and then they wonder why they don't have results.
So you would say that a lot of the reasons you think entrepreneurs might have vision but never actually build anything is from lack of systems, because the systems
Massively.
are the things that will force you to have accountability.
Yeah, and they force you to grow.
Yeah.
Because a real good system has accountability built into it. So, like, let's just take a personal system that I have, which is I text my buddy Killian every night. You can ask him.
Okay.
And I text him $500 if I'm not at the gym by 4 a.m. Like, that's my system for accountability. Because I'm like, I've never paid him.
Wow.
Because I will not. Like, I am so cheap. I will never pay that $500. So I'd rather just sacrifice my sleep and be like, I committed. I'm getting there, you know? And so, like, that's a personal system. So I think every good system has clear direction and expectation of what it does expect from all of the members who are associated with it, but it also has the accountability to be able to hold them to it. And so, what was your question?
That was a great question. Okay. Or a great answer. I was curious to know, I was just saying, with entrepreneurs, it seems like a lot of the reasons why some of them never actually build something or get traction is just from lack of systems.
Yeah.
That was the question.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Or understanding that of what you were saying.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest bottleneck that you see inside every business you work with?
The leader.
Okay.
Yeah. It's almost always the leader. Okay. So, like, for instance, one of the businesses that I recently acquired, I came into it and the owner had a lot of different preconceived notions of, like, I can't do this in my company because if I do this, then it's going to create this or cause this, or there's going to be some sort of negative effect. And it's like, when people start using the I can'ts or even like I shoulds, like an I should is not clear enough, and you're not accountable to an I should. So it's like when we can actually separate the leader from the business and be able to see what's actually in the way of this. A lot of times it's not anything crazy. It's just something that they haven't implemented because they're scared or they have their own preconceived notions about it. So almost always the biggest bottleneck is the leader. Sometimes it's, things like actual problems, like team problems, culture problems, things that aren't necessarily just their fault. But a lot of times, especially in businesses that are leading up to like the $100 million range, it's almost always the leader.
Wow. So if you could fix one thing inside every business tomorrow, what would it be? Would it be the leader?
Yes, but I would say it'd be open-mindedness in the organization. Because most businesses or organizations, whatever it is, most anythings, when they've been built long enough, they start to kind of close themselves off because they start to try things. And when they try things and they see that it doesn't work, they completely shut the door on it. And so I think that's the biggest advantage that like startups or new creations have, is it's like it's still in the season of like kind of excitement and whimsy. It's like, we don't know what's going to work. Let's just try it all, and sometimes something really clicks, and it might be something that like a very successful company tried one time and it didn't work. So they shut it off and it just didn't work for them. So I think a lot of times it's like people close themselves off to different opportunities based off their previous experience. That's a person thing and that's a business thing.
You're young, man. Like, how old are you? You're still 20.
25.
25. One of the things that I've always been curious about that I've wanted to ask you is when I look at my generation, there can be a little bit of frustration with maybe the generation ahead of us a little bit, in the fact that it seems like there was parts of their life that might have been a little easier. For instance, their housing costs to right now get into a home just seems like it's so much more expensive than it ever was. So I meet people oftentimes my age or younger, and a lot of them are just kind of frustrated or angry. You're even younger and have built success, but you're probably meeting with a lot of people your age that are also frustrated or irritated or going, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to get into a house. What do you think the biggest lie young entrepreneurs are believing right now?
I think it's the same lie that just people in general are believing. Like it's funny, like these different things that we learn in business and like these different parables, they're all in the Bible. Like, and everything in business is just a bigger amplification of everything that happens in the world. So with this specifically, I think that it's an ownership issue, not a house ownership, but like a personal ownership. Like, and that's why I said, if we can cause people to take agency, we can change the world. Because it's not until somebody takes agency and realizes every single decision that I make actually has a correct outcome for my life, or a wrong outcome, but it will have an outcome regardless. And when they actually believe that, and there's not like the system is coming for me, or something's against me, or whatever it may be, and they actually take ownership. Like even in my relationship with my wife, if we have an argument and I might be right, but I know that she doesn't think that I'm right, and I know that if I continue to go down this path, even though I'm right, it's not going to cause a good case scenario. So even in those situations, I'll take ownership. I'll be like, I understand how I could have made you feel that way. I'm very sorry. I'll, fess up to it. It's the same thing in life. It's like nothing is against you except for yourself. Like if you want to just go ahead and say that it's the system, say that it's different things that are against you, outstanding factors. I grew up in a trailer park. I grew up, on the streets. Whatever it may be. Maybe it's I grew up in a wealthy household and I never knew how to work. It's, it's always something against me. There's no ability to move forward because there's always something against you that's outside of yourself. But even if it wasn't your fault, if you can take ownership of whatever that situation is, you can move forward. So it's the thing that gives you back the power to be able to make serious change.
Got it. So you think
Would you agree?
100%.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is your mindset, your standards.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to shift, because you might run into two different people. One person seeing a situation and telling themselves all the reasons why they can't do it.
Yeah.
And you run into another person, they're thinking of all the reasons they're going to do it. And the one that usually is thinking, here's, no matter what happens, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. And here's all the tools that I have that the other generation didn't have. I have AI. I have, different tools that probably the generations before just only dreamed of. I can reach a lot more people. If I figure out this social media thing, I can reach a lot more people and get more leads. It's just a different mentality that I've found in people. A lot of people come into ministry and go, I don't know how we're going to be able to do that. It costs so much for payroll now in Washington State. And so, I want to do ministry, but I feel like if we have a Christian organization, we won't be able to get the government grants. We're not going to be able to afford it. So they get into ministry, and then all of a sudden they get away from the reason they got into it because they're scared. And for me, I guess I just looked at it going, what is the very best thing that we can offer the women coming out of sex trafficking, or these kids that need a place to come, or the people that we're feeding? Let's just build that and figure it out, because the end result is going to be worth the pain that we're going to have to go through. But if we start taking shortcuts, or we take the government funds for some of the things, like the Freedom Center, like I had to turn down $1 million opportunity, because if we would have taken the $1 million, it would have put massive restrictions on the Freedom Center. Yeah. So then there's no point to even having the Freedom Center if the restrictions that they were going to give us were were enabled. So we turned down the money, and it was very, very hard to try and go out and raise $1 million on a concept that nobody's seen before.
Right.
But we were able to do it, and now we own the building outright with no 15-year restriction, and the building doesn't have to be used for secular use only. So I think it's just a different shift and a different mindset. But I have to get people like you around my life, because there's moments, even in my own life, where I can feel the weight or the victimhood thing come on me, where I get frustrated and angry, and I have to get checked, and I have to, flip my mindset and my mentality to go into action mode. Do you ever find yourself struggling with that?
Yeah, totally. I think it's a constant decision. And like with taking ownership or taking accountability for things that sometimes aren't ours to take accountability for, it's always going to be the case that there are components that are not your fault. And there are going to be things that are against you and that do hold you down and actually do oppress you. But no matter if they are natural components that are oppressing you or if they are your fault, if you can take accountability and ownership of them regardless and say, you know what, I'm going to choose to do this in the face of uncertainty. I'm going to choose to do this no matter my circumstance. And we're just going to go. And I'm believing that it's going to work out. Like that's when real breakthrough happens, I think. So
you're working with AI pretty much every day now, right? I mean, you're kind of in the forefront of that, utilizing systems and stuff. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what Midas actually does?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So my business partner, Brandon, with Midas, he's kind of the forefront leader of the AI charge and all of the actual technology. So like what I said initially, like I'm the visionary. I can figure out the systems that need to be implemented, but I'm not an implementation guy. And that's the difference is like, I think a lot of people leave it, a lot of visionaries, they'll build something and then they'll be like, I can't find traction. I don't know how. I need a systems guy or whatever. Sometimes it's the visionary who hires a COO and their company starts to explode. But honestly, I think the way to do it as a visionary is like, if you can dream up the idea, you can absolutely dream how it's going to come to life. Doesn't mean that you have to build the system for it. And so like Brandon is that for me, is like all of the ideas that we come up with, the ideas that I'll basically come up with business owners with, he brings that to life with our team. And so ultimately what we do is come into companies, identify the bottlenecks that are holding them back, and then we'll build them software is what it is, but we'll build them a platform that basically eliminates all of the bottlenecks. So like my architecture firm, for instance, Travis and I, my business partner, we were looking to scale into Phoenix and into Texas and everywhere else. And we just wanted to grow it. But there was so much complication that came with that. And so the system that Brandon built for us was basically something to research code fast, to launch locations fast, to get us around all of the things that were holding us back. And now that company is on a trajectory to 10x, which is wild. And so with Brandon, he is a genius when it comes to the AI stuff. My personal opinions on all of the AI stuff, I think it's amazing. I think it's going to help us a lot. And I don't think it's actually as scary as people make it out to be. I mean, we've seen it before with the internet and things like that. We've seen it with the conveyor belt, like history repeats itself. AI is different. I'll give everybody that has fear that for sure. I'll give you that. But there's still an aspect of we're people and we continue to adapt and overcome. And this is ultimately a tool that has a much greater impact and can help people leverage if they know how to. So,
do you think Christians should be afraid of AI?
No. What does that even mean?
There's a lot of Christians that are, there's some of them that are afraid of it.
Yeah. Like it's the mark of the beast or something. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, ultimately what AI is code. It's not like it's black magic. So like it's code that's been developed to ultimately account for like any uncertainty that a person might ask. And it's coded through language. So it communicates through language, but AI has been around forever. It's just only recently become popularized. I mean, I think it was, I'd have to check the dates. I actually have no idea, but it's been around for at least 20 years. and governmental spaces and machine learning spaces. So like before it was just code. So you could only communicate with AI through code. And now it's become part of the English language and it understands it. So now we can communicate with it.
What do you think might be one of the biggest lies that Christians believe about success?
Can I give you two?
Yeah.
I think the first would be that success causes downfall and that success will ruin you because money will ruin you. Like that's been an interesting thing, kind of in my own family a little bit, but mainly in like different acquaintances and stuff where the question comes up of like, well, how much money do you really need? How much, success do you really need? Why are you still doing these different things? And it's like, it's because it's not about how much money is in the account. It's not about like how I'm feeling about myself. It's about all of the other people that I'm serving. And until my impact is at the place where I feel like I can't take it any further and God's done working through me, I will not stop. Like I just won't stop.
Yeah.
And so,
because you're not doing this just to make money.
No.
You're doing this to impact
That stopped
people.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not even making that much money right now. Like a lot of it goes right back into the business.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I live very humbly. But it's all about impact, which is why we're putting a lot of it back into the business. But I think that Christians kind of get in like a weird mode where they're like, success can ruin you, money can ruin you, whatever the thing is, it'll ruin you because it takes away from your relationship with God. And it's like, no, this is my like worship. Like when God made Adam and put him on the earth, he built Adam to tend the garden and to work it. It literally says that. And so like when I'm actually going out throughout my day and going out throughout work, it's not work to me. Like it's genuine purpose. Like I feel so alive during that. I feel more alive with my kids and my wife, obviously, but I feel so alive in the impact that I'm able to create just on a daily basis. It's not always glamorous, but it is always impactful. The second thing that I'd say is I think that, how do I phrase this? I think that there are a lot of Christians who believe if God called me to do this, then he will provide all the steps and I can just pray for it. And that is not a good mindset, in my opinion, because I think the way that he examines our heart is through work and the way that we actually serve and the way that we push into our callings. And so I think a lot of times when you get like too wrapped up in like more of like the legalism side of Christianity and you start focusing on more like, well, if I just pray, things will happen. If I just fast, things will happen. Prayer and fasting are both very good tools, but it doesn't end there. You still have to be able to be committed and to be able to put your foot forward so that God can bless it, because he can't bless a sitting object. It has to be moving.
Got it.
Yeah.
So because I think that you can find yourself in one of two ditches, one of which is I'm more spiritual because I can't pay for my kids' braces.
Right.
Which I don't think that's God's will for us to be, in a position where we can't take care of our families. It actually says that if you can't take care of your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. And then the flip side of it is where it all becomes out of selfish ambition and vain conceit and for greed and not godly ambition. And I think the difference between
prosperity gospel.
Selfish, and if I serve God enough, I'll be rich, that's
and I'm entitled to be rich if I serve God. Yeah.
And that's a huge ditch. And I think the difference between like godly ambition and selfish ambition is a lot of the motive. And what I'm hearing for a lot of these businessmen that I'm getting in contact with that are wanting to change the world, a lot of them, it's a godly ambition. I feel like God's putting this on my heart to go and to do this. Like the owner of Hobby Lobby, He could have just went and started a normal company, but that guy's changed the world.
Yeah.
And he's made a stance on Sundays, and he's given lots of money to help
50%, right?
lots of people.
Yeah.
And to make changes in the world that are unprecedented. That's godly ambition. That's not just me doing this because of selfish ambition and greed. And I think that's the difference that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think
because if somebody has ambition, sometimes people just want to poo-poo them, you know what I mean, and give them a hard time and say they're being greedy or whatever. And really, you haven't. None of what you're talking about right now is you saying, "I want a bigger boat," or "I want a bigger house," or "I want a bigger," thing. You want to take care of your family, but what you're talking about is you just want to have bigger impact in the world.
100%.
Yeah,
I think a lot of Christians get uncomfy when they hear the word billionaire. And it's like, honestly, I would love to be a billionaire because I truly believe that I would steward those funds correctly and for what God would have me steward them for. Because I just am not tied to money at all. Like, sure, it's nice and I need a little bit to live, but it's like at a certain point, it becomes about impact. Once you get enough in the bank to be comfortable, it becomes all about impact. Like, I don't need a big yacht. I don't need a jet. I don't need any fancy things. I need to be able to impact the community for God, how God wants me to. And money is ultimately a vehicle for impact. So,
yeah, that's interesting, man. Can somebody have it all though? Can somebody have a healthy family, faith, health, finances, and purpose? Or does something always have to give?
I think that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, naturally, like, eventually we're all going to have health issues. Like, that's just going to happen. So that would be something that gives. I think for seasons, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it just takes a lot of hard work and intentionality.
Tons of intention.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at our life, and my wife and I have a tool that we use. And it's just, or that I use, and it's about 7 different words that start with F, and it's like faith, family, finances, future, fun. Yeah. Like, I have them all there, and I see awesome. Like, where are we at? Are we, fitness is one, because at the end of the day, if I can't go play with my kids, what's the point? My father is 75. He still boxes and runs every day, and he's super active with his grandchildren.
Yeah.
And that was a choice that he made. But I think a lot of this stuff just takes an extreme intentionality. I mean, you're getting up at 4:00 in the morning and you're going, okay, I'm going to make sure that my fitness is on point. I'm going to spend time with the Lord. So I'm going to make sure my faith is great. And then I'm going to put a lot of intentionality onto the way I build the business to make sure our family is safe.
Yeah.
I think when somebody is doing well in all of those areas, in some ways, I think it's a great example of faith.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a 5th F, which is freaking sleep. And I do not have sleep. So I think, I mean, to answer your question, like, there might be something that you're always like more dominant in and something that you're weaker in, but I think that we can have them all for sure. I think it does cause a lot of intentionality. And like, for me, if someone looked at my lifestyle, my wife does it constantly. She's like, you don't sleep enough. But for me, I'm like, I function pretty good on 5 to 6 hours. And for right now, at least for this season, that allows me to have more time to be intentional so that I can actually wake up, work out, focus on my time with myself and with Jesus so that I can be best prepared for the day. And then I can literally work a full 8 to 10 hour day and get off at 2:00 and hang out with my kids. It's the best. Yeah. Like, that's my lifestyle right now.
Yeah. That was something interesting that when I was talking with you that I don't see, but you were going, no, the reason I get up so early is intentionally. Yeah. It's so that I can be home and spend the rest of the afternoon and stuff like that with my children. Yeah. So a lot of it is just a lot of intentionality.
It is. It's even intentionality through the day. Like, I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, but he was talking to me about, why do you work more than like 6 to 8 hours a day? You're not even, you can't be actually in your flow state like that long. That's not possible. Like, we don't function as humans for that long. And I was like, I can work a 10-hour day and be as, or if not more effective than you, because I set up my day with intentionality. So like the first 4 hours, those are focused on creative and deep work that actually take more brain power. And then the next 4 to 6 hours are focused on appointments, on prospecting, on whatever it may be. And it's focused on more of my social outlook, because if I'm spending the first part of my morning focused on fitness, which is like the first bar of your energy that's going to be naturally spent, and then the next bar on creative, and then the next bar is on social, then you're running out your battery life in the right way. That's intentionality. Like, and I can actually work an 8 to 10 hour day and be completely like happy at the end of it, go home and be a great dad. Like, there was a time where I was trying to do just appointments all day, and it was not for me. I was like just 8 hours straight of appointments, having like 10 to 15 appointments a day. And I would just do it like 2 or 3 days a week just to try to get like the edge. And I'd come home and I would just be snappier with my kids, and I'd be snappier with my wife. And she's like, what's going on? Like, I think I'm just sick of people. So, yeah, I try to be intentional in the way that I set it up so that I do have the best bucket to be able to spend with my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Be Bold for Jesus. If you've ever felt the urge to live out your faith more boldly, to step up and make an impact in your workplace, your church, or your community, this conference is for you. The Be Bold for Jesus conference is coming back to Spokane, Washington. It's a weekend packed with worship, encouragement, and practical tools to help you live out your faith confidently. You'll hear from incredible speakers who are living examples of what it means to be bold for Christ. Tickets are on sale now at beboldforjesus.org. That's beboldforjesus.org. Grab your tickets today and let's be bold together.
I love that, man. I loved our conversations on just the super intentionality that you were doing. For us, we have a very intentional like night routine with the kids. I'm very intentional on taking my family with us when we travel, even when it's not convenient.
Yeah.
Like, we just went up to...
It never is.
I just went up to do the Dan Martell hike.
Nice.
And it would have been probably more convenient to just go, up there. But I took the kids and the wife, and, then you got 4 or 5 potty breaks on the way. But I just want to make sure that we're being intentional with family.
Yeah.
But what about somebody that's not an entrepreneur? What about somebody that is working 9 to 5 or whatever, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes that might be hard for you or me to wrap our head around because we're just not built like that.
Yeah.
I
think it's the same thing.
How might they be intentional at, making sure that their family doesn't get left behind?
I think it's the same thing, honestly. It's like, for me, I just have to set my day up differently, but I also have to take ownership for the fact that I chose to get married young and have kids young, and I can't do anything to sacrifice that. So, like, a lot of guys out there they'll go travel around constantly. They'll go work 10, 15-hour days. I know one guy that literally sleeps in his office some nights and works straight up 16 to 18-hour days and just sees his family like no time. And I'm just not willing to do that. So I want to set my life up so that I work smarter and not longer, and I don't destroy my relationships. And so part of that is like intentionality with my wife and conversation with her. Like, how much are you comfortable with me traveling this month? I know that I have a couple trips coming up. How much more are you willing, or less are you willing? How much more do you think would be healthy or less healthy? Yeah. Like, so it's intentionality in the conversations as well. But I think for somebody that's working 9 to 5, you have to take ownership of the fact, hey, I have a job. Like, if I want to better my life, if I want to do anything, whatever that is to you, maybe you love your 9 to 5 and you're like, I love doing this, but I just want a little bit more time to myself. Looks like waking up earlier. Looks like hanging out with your family later. It looks like, so I think it's really just prioritizing the things that are most important and then structuring the things that you have to do around those things.
Yeah. Imagine there's a 22-year-old watching this right now. They're hungry. They love the Lord. They want to make an impact. What would you say should be their first step this next week?
Personal leadership. lead yourself first. So everything that we've talked about, like figure out what time you're going to bed, what time you're waking up. I have to admit, I'm not the best with the going to bed one. I just usually sacrifice sleep. But if I'm talking to this 22-year-old, I would say find a time that you go to bed consistently, find a time that you wake up consistently, figure out what's actually important. So like you have the faith, family, finance, fitness, right?
There's 7 of them. Yeah.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
All right. So find something like that. That's like, here are the biggest quadrants of my life that are important to me. And here are the priorities that I'm not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then here's maybe, a few goals that I want to invest in. And then just structure your day so that you can invest in the things, but also don't blow up your life trying to do something that's too crazy.
Yeah. No, I love that. All right. We're going to move into this next segment here. And I've got some more rapid fire questions.
Sweet.
You ready?
Yep.
All right. What's more dangerous, failure or success?
Both, if you're not set up to deal with them. Do I have to pick one? I have to pick one. All right. Failure.
Okay, let's try that again. So what's more dangerous, failure or success, and why?
Okay. Failure, because if you're not set up to deal with failure, there's worse repercussions.
I would think, do you think
It's
there
pretty even.
are times though where success could be more
100%,
dangerous?
yeah.
Because I feel like the people that are the most successful are the ones that have failed the most.
I don't know. You made me change my answer. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Because I feel like for me, the ones that I've met that are the most successful, I think they just fail more than everybody else.
I just think, so the question
And they
was,
are constantly trying. What's more dangerous?
what's more dangerous? I'd still probably say failure.
Okay.
Just because the physical danger of like, sometimes people's capacity are so low that if they do experience a major failure, it might lead to bad things, very bad things, and destruction.
Maybe we'll have to change the question to be what's more important?
Yeah. What's more important?
Failure or success?
I would say failure is more important still, because you have to fail in order to succeed.
Yeah. This was our team came up with this. They really wanted these questions for you, and I was like, okay. And a lot of them are young. They're your age.
Okay.
So they want to know what's more dangerous, being broke or being successful too young?
Being successful too young, for sure. If we're talking about age, then it definitely comes down to, I would much rather be broke for years and actually understand what's important and have true perspective before I get money than getting money too young.
Okay. Why is that?
Because you're not fit to deal with it. So like you look at guys like Justin Bieber, guys like, people who experience massive success way too early, they're not fit or capable to be able to deal with it because they haven't experienced the failure. They haven't experienced the different things that are actually real life. And so it's kind of like play money, which gets real dangerous.
Oh, that's a good perspective on it. Yeah, because you almost need, if you're being that successful, you almost need a whole entire team of people around you to mentor you and help you process that.
100%. I think you can do it really well as long as you have guidance and wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something wealthy people understand that most people don't?
I think it's the money as a vehicle for impact, and it's not evil. I think most people who don't have money think of it as like something that causes destruction when it's just not. I mean, if you're actually a good person, you know how to deal with it. So I would also say the more wealthy people that I get around and the more kind of different caliber of human that I hang out with, it's an understanding of like, these are people who have had to take ownership, have had to develop integrity and leadership, and they've had to do all of these hard things. And so a lot of times they're just better humans, honestly. Like, I hate to say that, but it's just kind of true. Like, a lot of people think that, and maybe this is like the wealthy people that I'm hanging out with because they're in my circle, but a lot of people think that like the mega rich people are all, crazy warlocks and they're terrible. And it's like, no, a lot of them are actually really good people. You just don't hear about them because they don't make the news for negativity.
Got it. Well, and I think there's a difference between some kid that just got a whole bunch of money because his grandpa died and hooked him up with a whole bunch of money versus somebody that had to like
really fight through, learn the systems, build something. You know what I mean? And then for us, I think as Christians, it's always that balance of, okay, well, when they do become successful, what do you do with it? If you're looking at it as a tool to impact the kingdom of God,
right?
Money can be a great tool, but it also can become detrimental if you start worshiping it or are willing to do whatever it, is even unethical to just achieve it. You know what I mean? Because that's where you get human trafficking. So I think that's what you're talking about is the people that you're around or people that have a vision to do good with the tools that God's given them. And so they're just trying to grow it. Is hustle culture helping young entrepreneurs or hurting them?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. My answer, I might surprise you. I think it's, how do you define hustle culture?
I don't know. Get the Gen Z kids in here real quick. They are the ones that wanted to ask them.
I'll go with my definition first.
It's your generation of hustle culture.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say, okay, so here's what I know that there's like a negative side of hustle culture for sure. When I look at hustle culture, I'm thinking more like people like, Alex Hormozy, maybe David Goggins-ish, like different people who are
that's
like,
what I would say.
We got to work harder. We got to get this done. I think overall it helps more, partially because it causes more problems. And so people hustle harder and they realize that might not be the way and there might be a smarter way. And then they start to optimize. I think the other side of it is without the hustle culture, you never have an understanding for what real hard work really is and what it actually looks like. And so then you just play it too safe. So I think it's actually positive if you look at it the right way and if you're the human who can actually deal with it and move through it. But you have to be willing to grow and be willing to change in order to be successful.
I like that. Is college overrated?
Yeah. Yes and no. I think it is still overrated. I mean, there's a lot more stuff on it now, like more people are not going to college, but I think it's still a bit overrated in terms of what you're trying to go after. Obviously, if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, anything that requires a degree, it's important if you feel called to that. But I think for the majority of people, especially with AI and everything that's happening in our world, it's just not going to be a thing in 30, 40 years. I think it will be a thing, but it'll be structured differently. Like the way that we learn right now is so outdated that I think that it has to change.
Can somebody be wildly successful without selling their soul?
Yes. Because what is your definition of success? If success to you is $10K a month and a happy family, then that's wildly successful. So yeah, absolutely. I think selling your soul would come down to like what we talked about earlier. Like in order to sell your soul, you have to be doing something that you didn't really want to do just so that you can have the impact of what your preconceived idea of impact is. Like with mine, it was like, hey, I've got this real estate brokerage. It's growing. It's successful. I'm making money. But that was kind of like selling my soul because I was like, this is soul crushing to me on a daily basis. Like it's not in the sense that I get to lead people and have fun, but it is in the sense that I know that I'm called to something greater and I know that I'm not on that path. So I think that, what was the question?
Can somebody be wildly successful without selling their soul?
Okay. Yeah. So I think absolutely. Did that answer it enough?
Yeah. I'm just trying to throw you these and see what you come up with.
All right.
Has following God ever cost you money?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, lots of times. There's been, I can think of quite a few different examples. One was we had just gotten married, my wife and I. I'll make this story super short, but it's a really long story and it's a great story, which I'll tell one day. Okay. But my wife and I get married. We're driving out of the wedding and we get a phone call from our neighbor that her dog got hit by a car. So we have to go to the hospital in my wedding night. And I'm a 19-year-old Christian boy who's like excited to get back to the hotel room, right? And so we spend the night watching over her dog until 3 a.m. Then we get to the hotel room. The hotel room's not done. It was the bachelorettes had stayed in it the night before. It still has like plates and dishes and, dirty sheets and stuff because it was during COVID. And so I was mad about that. I talked to the hotel guy. He's like, can't do anything. It's COVID. So we're pissed. We go to bed. We wake up the next morning. We get to the airport. The airport attendant is talking to someone in front of us for 10 minutes. And finally, when we get up there, she's like, you're a minute late. I can't check your bags. So we're like, okay, great. So we had to wait 8 hours for the next flight, or maybe it was the next day or something. I don't know. But then we fly into Miami where we were having our honeymoon. And I get a call from the only deal that I had in real estate. And we had invested literally pretty much our entire account into finishing our house so we could come back to a finished house after our wedding. So I have like no money. We're doing all of this trip and stuff on, previously paid. And I'm stressed, super stressed. And I get a call from the only deal that I had. It was the seller. It was a for sale by owner that I had negotiated $40,000 over the asking price just to cover my commission and give him another 20 grand basically. And he calls me, he's like, hey, I can't pay your commission. And I'm like, what do you mean? We talked about this for a month. It's closing in 3 days. He's like, I can't do it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Why can't you do it? And I pulled out every sales trick in the book. I pulled out everything that I possibly could. I got all the way down to like 0.5%. And he's like, still, I'm not going to do it. And so that was a time where I basically was like, all right, God, what do you want me to do? And I felt like he wanted me to continue closing it for these guys to be able to get the house. And so I did. And I worked another 6 hours on the honeymoon for free. Didn't get paid anything for it. Came back to no money. But he still provided in other ways, and we were able to make it through, obviously. Anyway, that honeymoon trip, there was like 4 other major things that if I told you, you'd just be like mind blown. But that's how you start a good relationship.
Holy smokes, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
It's terrible. It was a long answer.
Did you guys ever go on another honeymoon?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to like full circle that. So there's been a lot of moments that opportunities have looked amazing, but I just don't feel the conviction to pursue them, or I don't feel the peace. And sometimes people make decisions. I think a lot of Christians will make decisions based off of peace only and not based off of actually looking at it and fasting and praying and doing the things that are actually required. And peace almost becomes an excuse. For me, I know in my spirit if something is right. Like I just know it. I have a feeling. And then it takes my wife calling it out for me to actually act on it. And so there's been a lot of instances in my life that there's been big opportunities to make money, but it just doesn't fit with the impact that I want to make.
Got it. So what's one business decision that made absolutely no financial sense, but you knew God was telling you to do it?
The biggest one was probably growing an agency to 30 agents in a year, having success, and then being able to just be okay with exiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it back to my partners.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to obey the Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
I made a little bit of money. There was like what was in the account or whatever, but it wasn't, it was not a proper exit. That's for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
If you lost everything tomorrow, how would you rebuild?
Prayer. I don't know what losing everything would look like, but it would start in prayer for sure. Prayer is something that I've taken for granted for a long time. And it's one of the things that I live my life by now. Mm-hmm. Being able to connect and have that daily connection with God, to be able to feel grounded and feel centered in all of my decisions. And so it would just be, honestly, it would be trusting the Lord and praying and working too, figuring out what that might look like.
Would you rather start over with no money or no relationships?
No money. Yeah, definitely no money. Relational equity is one of the things that I've spent a lot of time building here in Spokane, especially. I know a lot of people, I don't know a percentage necessarily, but it's one of the things that I have tried to be very intentional with and tried to foster very well. And I think this is the case that most people would say that Nate actually cares about me. You know, I try to make people feel that. That's been a goal of mine. Actually, Robin, the gal that I had speak at the conference, when I came on to this coaching program, and she was one of the leaders in that space, she basically just started coaching me for free almost. Like, well, yeah, for free. She like literally reached out to me. She's like, hey, I really see that you're growing. I see that you're doing all of this. I see, and so I got to spend some time kind of shadowing her, understanding how she works. And then honestly, just being around her the very first time, she's one of those people that just makes you feel seen. And it's like when you're talking with her, you're the only person in the room. You're the only person that matters in the world almost. It's like literally it's tunnel vision, and she's just like speaking to your soul. And so ever since that, it's been like, I think I've been friends with her for probably 6 years now. And ever since I met her, I was like, I want to be that. So I try to be that. I don't think that I'm near as good as her yet, but one day I will be. And I think relational equity really comes out of a place of like true relational equity is people knowing that you care.
And you feel like it'd be easier to start a business off of, but still have the right relationships than it would be to have all the money but not know anybody.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I could come up with any offer. I don't care if it's like dog dewormer. I'd be able to probably sell 100K of it to my connections in a week. Like, I mean, I did that with the software company. Like, instead of buying into it, I just was like, hey, I'll bring you this much in sales, and then this will be my percentage. And that's how we did that. So, yeah, fully confident. I mean, when you have good relationships and people trust you, that's more valuable than any money.
That's great. I like that answer. What's one habit that made you the most successful?
Probably waking up early, I think. Yeah, I think it's always been one of the things that I've struggled with. And when I say struggled, like my version of struggle is probably different than a lot of people's, but like I'll have like a day that I don't wake up in the week, and I'll be like, oh man, my whole life is over. like everything has been kind of built off of that habit. I don't know what it was. I think it was when I was probably when I was about 15 and I had the furniture store, and I started realizing that like the sooner that you can wake up and get going before people are hammering your phone or whatever it may be, the more successful you'll be, because you can build such a better foundation to be able to drive off of, and you'll just be a more intentional human throughout the day. And so I'm a big believer in that. Some people say, oh, I'm a night owl and that gets the job done. Like I can focus all my energy at night. The problem with that, in my opinion, is that when you wake up in the morning, there's nothing. It's a clean slate. It's a fresh day. When you stay up at night, there's stuff that's happened all day. There's new problems. There's things that have happened that you're trying to fix. So your entire like alone time in the night is driven by other people's problems and what you need to solve instead of fresh slate.
That's interesting. What's one habit that has strengthened your faith the most?
I have kind of two answers. If I'm answering that question specifically, I would say consistency in the word. Absolutely. Like, and this kind of stems from like waking up early. Like if I can wake up early, everything else becomes easy. Reading the Bible is not something that comes super easy to me. It's like, it's been harder for years and years to pick up. And when I actually started making it more of a discipline and more of a, like, I'm just going to be intentional with reading, 1 page in the morning or 2 pages or whatever it is, then that's when true growth has actually happened and when God's spoken to me the most. So I think a lot of people get weird with like, oh, you don't want to routinize the word. You don't want to routinize your relationship with Jesus. But I think it's only when you actually do that and have the discipline to be able to routinize it that true growth happens. Because on that topic, like somebody asked me what the best parenting advice is. And I heard this from somewhere, but I always say it's quantity of time and quality of time. Because I used to say it's only about the quality of time that you spend with your kids. And that was kind of an excuse so that I could work more. But the thing is like with quantity of time, that's when quality of time shows up. You don't know that you're going to get quality of time. And so like for me, if I can try to be disciplined with the word and be getting in the word, then it opens up new opportunities because I'm actually consistent with it.
I love that. That's a really good answer.
I had a second answer, but I don't know if we're going too long.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
this is not really a habit, but marriage has strengthened my relationship with God massively. Like I'm probably 4 times a better Christian than I was before I met my wife. And that's just because she speaks such truth, and women have a different conviction in their hearing from the Holy Spirit that they can bring new things out of you that you didn't know existed. So marriage has been one of the biggest growers of my relationship with God, because there's just so much continued connection, and it's having that relationship. It really shows you a lot about your relationship with God.
Wow. That's true, man. There's nothing that'll grow you as much as getting married and then having kids.
Yeah.
Woo. That's great, man. You have a really incredible wife too, so that helps a lot. What's one task that every business owner should stop doing themselves because AI can do it better?
I mean, a simple one is like email scrubbing. Like if you get a lot of emails, then you're still doing it yourself. I'd say that's the big one, is like it can not only scrub your emails, get rid of all the spam, identify the ones that are important, but it can also draft everything for you, like stuff like that. I think it looks different for every business owner, obviously. For me, one thing that's helped a lot with is messaging, it's copyright, it's marketing, it's, everything that I spent more time than I should doing. I mean, I don't know. It kind of depends on the industry, but I'd say the things that have the most leverage, that you spend the most time doing, that could be sent to someone else, can be done through AI.
That's great. If I was going to give you $10 million today to start
I'll take
any business, what would you start?
I think my answer is a little bit different on this one. Most people would say AI, for sure. They would say AI, put it in AI, put it in software, put it in all the things that are hot topics right now. But I think the place that you will have the most success with $10 million is the place that you feel called to. So my answer would be different than somebody else's. But if you were asking me specifically, it would go into investing in other businesses and being able to partner with other leaders to be able to help elevate them. That would be where I would put the money.
Okay.
Be able to bet on other people. If you were going to give it to somebody else, I would say, if you have money, put it into a vehicle that you're passionate about and that you feel like you have the most impact.
What's one belief that you might have had at 20 that you disagree with today at 25?
That more hours in a day equates to more success. It just doesn't. So like in the beginning, I thought, if I can have quality of time with my kids and I can use that excuse to be able to just work more and work like 12, 14-hour days, and I can wake up early and I can sacrifice my sleep and I can, I thought that would equate to success. And honestly, it just doesn't. It's honestly about, if we're looking at it from like a purely tactical, it's the inputs that you have. So the inputs that you have into the business are obviously what's going to generate the outputs. Sometimes the inputs that we have are not correct and those need to be adjusted. But if I spent, all day focused on, I'm going to do outreach, but I'm cold calling people, it's probably not going to be as effective as if I'm using my warm market and I'm being much more intentional with the 6 to 8 hours a day that I get. So I personally believe that is a big one that's changed for me, is because I used to be like, I wish that I could take a pill that I just didn't have to sleep. And I just don't agree with it anymore.
Okay. Last question. If a young Nate Yoder was sitting here watching this podcast, what would you tell him?
Just keep going, honestly. Like it's pretty simple, but I think young Nate was very impatient and still is very impatient. That's a good thing, but it can be a more detrimental thing, because if you don't hit certain metrics or certain things that you set for yourself by the time that you said that you would, it can be extremely discouraging and it can cause you to sacrifice what might have been your ultimate vision. So I would say just keeping the endurance up and staying open-minded to what might push the needle forward.
That's awesome, dude. final thought I want to leave us with as we're kind of wrapping up is more just on kingdom stuff. What is your big dream for yourself over the next 10 years? And like, if you could accomplish what's in your heart, what would you do, and what strategies do you have in your heart that you'd like to accomplish to impact the kingdom of God?
So in the next 10 years, I have a goal to be able to impact 100 businesses. So that's my 10-year goal. And that might look like equity partnerships. It might look like more coaching, speaking opportunities. It might look like, I don't know exactly what those are. But I do know it looks like a direct relationship with 100 businesses to be able to impact the people that they serve. And so that's like my number goal, to be just like, let's throw a wild number out there. But it's ultimately because of the impact that will have on those 100 companies and their trajectories, and the way that their families live, the way that the leaders live, the way that all of the employees live and thrive in that culture.
If you had to pick one area of need that really breaks your heart, what would that be? And how do you plan on impacting that?
Just in the world? Yeah. Probably kids. I think there's a lot that breaks my heart in this world, but I think the biggest thing that does is kids without direction. And so recently I've taken some steps to get connected with a few community efforts in that, to be able to just go into schools and speak and be able to hopefully impact a few people. Because I know that honestly, my biggest advantage in life was that my parents were incredible and they trusted me so much that it built so much agency in myself that I truly, like with every fiber of my being, believe that anything that I want to do, I can go do tomorrow. Like the other night, me and Brandon were watching the UFC fights, and I had this wild idea. I'm like, dude, I could get in this ring in like 9 months. And I like fully believed it. It might not be true, but I fully believed that I could if I actually dedicated to training. So that's like the biggest superpower ever. And it's because I have so much agency that I just know it's not only a goal that I can set up the actual steps to be able to reach that goal. And I'm so confident in myself to be able to do it. And so what I am so passionate about is being able to bring that along and be able to lift others up in that. Because I think when we can actually start the younger generation off on that foot and truly believing that they can have impact and that the world's not out to get them and that their excuses don't matter, they just need to think bigger and to trust themselves that we can really change the world. So
awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. That was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, I want you to make sure to like and share and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're grateful for every listener. Your support helps us keep sharing stories of faith, hope, and real transformation. And if this episode encouraged or challenged you, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. If you'd like to support victims of sex trafficking and be part of the fight for freedom, visit helpingcaptives.org to learn more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.